back to my channel. So I have a little setup here. I actually made this setup for my film channel. I will link that down below if you guys are interested in seeing the videos that I uploaded over there. I made a bunch of like horror films, family-friendly films and series that you can watch for Halloween. So I'll be uploading those over the month of October, so definitely go check it out over there if you're interested in that. But I made the setup for that and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna keep this setup because I kind of like it. It's kind of cool, it's creepy for most of my Halloween content. So then that way you guys have a little something to look at, and you know, I'm not the center of attention anymore. So yeah, they tend to freak a lot of people out. I don't really know why. This is Tiffany and that's Trudy. I actually haven't introduced them on the film channel yet, but I did on my Facebook page for the film channel. So this is creepy. This is actually something I made for one of the short films on my film channel as well. I wanted something special for Halloween this year. So today we're going to be talking about the Warrens. I was inspired by this from the videos on the film channel actually, because I talked a lot about Conjuring and Annabelle and things like that, and I'm a really big fan of Ed and Lorraine Warren's work. I follow them on YouTube. I will actually link their YouTube channel down below. It is run by Tony Spera. He is the husband of their daughter Judy. So you guys can definitely go check it out because it's really creepy. You get tours of the museum. He talks a little bit more in detail about the artifacts, and even Ed himself, there's some footage of him talking about the things in the museum. But today I want to talk about a couple of cases, some famous, some less famous, less well known. I'm not going to get into a ton of detail on all of the artifacts, so you can go check it out on the official Ed and Lorraine page, or you can just do your own research, because I see a lot of people talking about some of this, and some of them have a lot of misinformation. I got most of my information from the official Ed and Lorraine Warren YouTube channel, so hopefully all of what I'm saying is accurate. Hopefully I don't get confused with any of the information. So I just want to talk about a couple of artifacts. I really admire Ed and Lorraine Warren's work. They basically proven the existence of the paranormal and the afterlife time and time again. They actually disputed in a court case to try and prove the existence of demons and the devil himself. And they basically prove the existence of fairies, werewolves, and even Bigfoot. And you can find all of that information on the official channel, because people actually didn't believe me when I told them that Lorraine encountered a Bigfoot and Ed and Lorraine Warren encountered fairies. They don't believe me, so go check out their official page and you can hear it straight from the horse's mouth. So yeah, so they've proven the existence of demons and spirits, ghosts, and the afterlife in general. So we all know there is an afterlife, most definitely. Lorraine was a renowned psychic and Ed was a renowned demonologist. So all of their cases are just so interesting to me, and some of them really creep me out a little bit, especially if I look at footage or photos of the artifacts for too long, so I do have to put that here. Just don't, if you go to their channel, don't binge watch everything, like, because you might feel a little nauseous or lightheaded if you look at all the things in the museum at once and repeatedly, because even though it's just a YouTube video, you know, they can still, like, that energy is still there of the item or the demon possessing that item, so it can still impact you in a way. So the first thing I want to talk about is their biggest attraction, and that's Annabelle. So Annabelle is not as creepy looking as she was in the Annabelle movies. She's not a porcelain doll. In real life, she's actually a Raggedy Ann doll. So it's basically material with some stuffing inside. So she's actually really nice looking. It doesn't really look like something that should be possessed. So Annabelle, if you guys don't know, she is what they call a conduit, which means the demon is basically puppeteering the doll. It's not actually inside the doll. It's basically around, surrounding the doll. It's attached to the doll, and it's puppeteering the doll. And the doll, being a conduit, also basically amplifies all of the other things and spirits around to be more active, because other spirits are more attracted to something if it is a conduit. I've also heard about what they call spirit dolls, which they take dolls and basically open them up as conduits to use in seances and things like that as well. So if you don't know the story about Annabelle, she was basically discovered by the Warrens because of a case that a couple of nurses had. It was 2 nurses. They lived in this apartment and they got this doll. It was a gift from the one girl's mother to her for her birthday, and everything was great. She was really excited about the doll. It was a really rare collector's item, so it was a really special gift and it was really sentimental. And then weird things started happening around the house. The doll would move, change positions, and eventually she'd be in completely different rooms. And at first they thought it was someone playing a trick on them, but then they ruled out all the logical explanations. So they hired a psychic, which clearly was not really good at her job. And the psychic told them that there was a little girl attached to the doll that wanted to live with them by inhabiting the doll. So they gave the little girl permission to basically inhabit the doll. Okay, so after they gave the permission, things started getting a lot worse and things started to progress a lot more. The one girl's boyfriend actually came over one day, he slept over, and he had a really creepy dream about the doll, like climbing up his leg and trying to like scratch him and stuff. And he woke up and he was freaked out. So he took the doll and he threw the doll across the room and said, "That's just a doll." And then just slashes appeared on his chest out of nowhere. Like out of nowhere. And they were so freaked out, eventually they enlisted the help of Ed and Lorraine Warren, who took the doll to their occult museum. And in the museum, she still has caused a few problems. Like, priests come by a lot to bless her, and she's in like a special case that's infused with like blessed oils and like prayers and basically all of that to contain her. I actually remember this one particular case about a couple that went to the Warrens Occult Museum. There was like this tough biker dude and his girlfriend. So he went up to the Annabelle doll. Basically, you're not supposed to touch anything, but he basically looked at it, he basically tapped on the glass and said, "That's just a doll, it's an ugly doll. If that doll can really do anything, the doll should come to me and show me something." Basically, he was challenging the doll. So, obviously, Ed threw them out of the museum, politely asked them to leave, because they basically disregarded everything he said they should not do. Disrespected. I mean, the museum's like in their home. They disrespect someone else's property. So they got on their bike and they just drove away. And they never really made it home. The guy died and the girl was admitted into a hospital. She actually contacted Ed afterwards and told him the last thing they saw before they crashed was the doll in front of them. And then they crashed and the guy died, unfortunately, and she was admitted in hospital. So this is a very important lesson, to never challenge the demonic. Never challenge a spirit, because you will come off second. So amongst Annabelle, they also have a plethora of other creepy haunted dolls in their museum. And the second one I really want to talk about is the Shadow Doll. Now there's a couple of people who gave a little bit of misinformation on the Shadow Dolls, so I really want to talk about her in this video. So the Shadow Doll is a really creepy, ugly looking doll, which was purposely made this way. There's human hair, human bones, and a human tooth on the doll. And it was made this way for a specific reason. So what they use this doll for is to curse people. They take a picture of this doll and they put it inside an envelope with a specific incantation that the person casting the curse has to say. They mail it to someone they want to curse, and then when you open the envelope and look at the picture of the doll with the curse attached to it, then the doll comes to you in your dreams. And most of the time, the people who was a victim to this doll ended up getting heart attacks in their sleep. The doll came to them and they had heart attacks in their sleep because of this doll. So it's a really creepy doll, and I really needed to add it on this list because I think that's just horrifying. Imagine just opening up your mail and then you die in your sleep just because you're opening your mail. So maybe don't open unknown mail. They also have a lot of other things in the museum. There's like this other thing that kind of like piqued my interest too. I just want to talk about this real briefly, but it's like this little noose type thing with like this doll hanging from it, which was generally used to curse a person as well. So they hang this doll with noose. They usually made it out of like an old chair leg, and they hang this outside the person's window that they want to curse. They put also some, I think it was pork meat or something, onto it as well, and they also say a specific incantation, and as the meat rots, the person gets sicker and sicker, and the ultimate goal is to kill the person. So there's a lot of like cursed objects in there. Like there's a curse board that was also intended to curse people. So a lot of curses and things like that. Also a lot of witchcraft items. There's even like a glass eye that is like cursed. Okay, so next on the list that I really want to talk about specifically is the Satanic Idol. Now this was found by Ed. The thing was basically just in the forest. It was used for satanic rituals. It was like the Satanic Idol thing that was just like standing in the forest and freaking people out. And a couple of people claimed to see people with like cloaks and things going in and out the forest. So Ed removed the idol from the forest and put it in the museum. The thing gives off really creepy vibes, and it's just like horrific to look at. Apparently it's quite fragilely made, which is interesting for it to be outside if it's so fragile, you know? But it's just a really creepy artifact, and anything like satanic that was used in satanic rituals kind of just creeps me out because there's so much bad energy attached to it. Okay, so talking about satanic haunted objects, they also have a skull in there that's actually a real human being's skull. They do not really know who it belonged to, but it was also used in really dark satanic rituals, and also just really bad vibes attached to that skull. And it's just really sad that they don't really know who it belonged to, so they probably killed someone for the skull, or they dug up a grave and just took someone's skull, which is just horrific to think about. So the next thing I want to talk about is another really big case that Ed and Lorraine Warren worked on. This is actually, it wasn't a really well-known case until the last Conjuring movie came out, the Devil Made Me Do It case, or The Haunting in Connecticut. So this whole thing was just really creepy. If you don't know what it is, you know, just go watch the newest Conjuring movie. It kind of gives a little bit of an explanation. But it was like this boy who was possessed, and then there was an exorcism gone wrong, and the demon jumped. But while Ed and Lorraine was investigating this, the artifact they took was a dinosaur toy that's in their museum. So apparently this dinosaur toy moved by itself across the room, completely by itself across the room. So they just removed the artifact from the home and they took it. This toy belonged to the boy, and also there was like demonic voices emanating from the toy, so it was quite creepy. And also with the Devil Made Me Do It case, Ed and Lorraine Warren actually went to court. This is where they tried to prove the existence of the devil and demons in court. So you can just like find out more about this on the official Ed and Lorraine Warren page, or you can just go watch the third Conjuring movie as well if you just want to like get a little bit more into that case. Next, I want to talk about the Pearls of Death. Now, this was really an interesting case, and what's really kind of creepy is she's wearing pearls. She's wearing pearls. So, I actually didn't think this through at all. But, yeah, the Pearls of Death was basically this necklace, pearl necklace, like that was cursed. It was given to this woman, and basically if you put on the pearls, it feels like you're being strangled. They actually had to pull the necklace off her and break the necklace, so luckily no one can put it on again because it's broken. But it's in the museum. Apparently anyone who put on this necklace feel like they were being strangled. So I'm not completely sure what type of curse they put on this, or if it's maybe also like some type of demonic attachment thing, but nevertheless it's really creepy. I don't want a necklace that if I put it on I feel like I'm being choked. That's not what I'm looking for when I'm shopping for my jewelry. So next off we have the Conjuring Mirror, and no, I'm not talking about the movie The Conjuring. The Conjuring Mirror is something else. So for those of you who do not know what crystalmancy is, it's basically the art of staring into like something like a reflective thing, like a crystal ball or a mirror, in a dark room. Generally it's a dark room, or you stare into like a body of water. It's basically where you're scrying and you're trying to communicate with entities and spirits. Everyone kind of knows that mirrors are portals, so this is like where the art of crystalmancy comes in, where they try to communicate with things on the other side through the mirror. So the Conjuring Mirror, the guy who owned this, he basically sat in front of this mirror and he basically went insane at the end of the day, because he sat there at the beginning. It was just like his grandparents coming through, you know, people he knew, and over time the things that came through was darker and darker, and eventually the guy went insane because of what he saw in the mirror. So eventually Ed and Lorraine Warren had to remove this mirror, and it resides now in their museum. So actually, if I go to the museum, I don't think the mirror is something I would be staring into for too long. This also kind of reminds me of that game, the Three Kings game, where you need to put mirrors facing each other, and you also want to... Don't play that game. Don't play that haunted game ever. Mirrors should never face each other. I actually have a couple of tips here while we're on the topic of mirrors. Never put a mirror facing your bed. Actually, just try to avoid mirrors in your bedroom in general. And never place two mirrors facing each other, because those are energy portals, and I can make an entire video just on that if you guys want me to. Put that down in the comments. So the next thing I want to talk about is Borley Rectory. Now this was a really interesting case about the Warrens, and it's actually one of the lesser known cases. So Borley Rectory was built in 1862, and it burned down and was demolished in 1939. So this was apparently dubbed one of the most cursed places in England, and also I think this is where the whole idea of the nun came from, because there was like this nun that haunted the building, but there was a lot of other spirits in the building as well, but the nun was one of the more iconic spirits that haunted the building of Borley Rectory. And let me tell you, just, it's really creepy. And Ed, being Ed, took one of the bricks of Borley Rectory, and that brick resides in their museum to this day. So that's just really creepy. So next thing I want to talk about is the haunting of Lindley Street, or better known as the case of the talking cat. And yes, you heard me correctly, the talking cat. So the house on 966 Lindley Street was a very weird case that Ed and Lorraine Warren worked on. A lot of people called this a hoax, and it attracted so many people, so many press. Even I believe the cops were involved at one point. They're just trying to get rid of the crowds there because everyone was so fascinated by this case. The people who lived in the house experienced poltergeist-like hauntings. They had things moving around, things falling over, things that could possibly not fall over by itself, like really heavy big objects would just fall down. And you know, they just needed help, so they enlisted the help of Ed and Lorraine Warren. A lot of people still believe this case is a hoax, but Ed and Lorraine Warren swear by it, that this was one of the scariest hauntings that they actually ended up investigating. I believe this was also the case where Lorraine had an out-of-body experience. What Tony explained is like she felt like she was pushed from behind, and then she was just ended up looking at her own body. She wasn't in her body anymore. And she was kind of freaked out for the moment, but then eventually she just like wished she was back in her body, and eventually she was. But she said it felt like forever, but it was just like mere seconds. And it was a really scary experience for her, but she actually says it was also a very liberating experience, because she ended up seeing that, actually having evidence that there is an afterlife indeed. What they were trying to prove, she now knows is real. So it was a really creepy experience, but yet very educational for her. So the part where the talking cat comes in was really creepy. The cat was just like just walking around, doing his business. And then what happened here was manipulation of the vocal cords of the cat. So whatever entity was there manipulated the vocal cords of the cat. So the cat, I don't really know why we are saying talking, because it was more like singing. And I mean, I swear to this, like, you can go check out the official Ed and Lorraine Warren page. I'm not kidding you. The cat actually started singing. And the song it was singing was Jingle Bells. The cat started singing Jingle Bells ever so casually. So this kind of, weirdly, this reminds me of, like, you know that video about the singing cat? You know, that one that, like, yodels? This reminds me a lot about that. But, you know, the video actually kind of creeps me out after hearing this. The cat's vocal cords was manipulated, and the cat sang Jingle Bells. And it pronounced the words perfectly. So, I mean, a cat cannot talk like we can. That was just really creepy. And this case fascinated a lot of people, and now you see why a lot of people were so interested by this case. So if you want to find out more, definitely go check out the official Ed and Lorraine Warren page. I will be linking that down below. If you want me to talk about any more of these artifacts of Ed and Lorraine Warren, then please put that in the comment section down below. They have a lot of things. They have a lot of witchcraft items, a lot of Ouija boards as well. And actually, Lorraine gave a really cool tip for if you want to get rid of a Ouija board. So she said never to burn them. If you want to get rid of a Ouija board, you have to bury it. So that's a cool tip if you ever want to get rid of a Ouija board. They also have a couple of fertility dolls from Africa, which is interesting because, yeah, I live in South Africa and we have a lot of, like, shamans, voodoo practitioners here, a lot of more traditional healing and medicine type things. And yeah, the voodoo dolls fertility thing, that it totally makes sense from the native tribes that still reside. Like, what Tony kind of said is, like, someone stole these dolls from a shaman, and, you know, if you ever cross a shaman, you're definitely going to get crossed back. So this is how the dolls ended up cursed, and then they ended up in the possession of Ed and Lorraine Warren. They also have a couple of cursed plane parts, a haunted flight where the plane crashed, so that's also pretty interesting if you're interested in that. So that's all I'm going to be covering for this video, guys. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bless, guys. Bye!